right. Welcome, everyone, to another exciting episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. I'm your host out of Alexandria, Virginia, Andrew Becker. On today's episode, my new friend, David Randolph. David is the real estate foreclosure and short sale expert at Realty Renovator. Welcome to the show, David. Nice to have you.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here, Andrew.
Yeah, let's jump right into it, man. You've been in real estate for quite some time in the greater St. Louis area, I believe. Give us a high level before we really jump into what you specifically do in that niche. Let's hear a little bit of your background, like how you got into real estate and a little bit about who David is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Well, what? I've got this engineering degree. And so I was in the corporate world, climbing the corporate ladder. Okay. And guess what happened? I got to the top of the corporate ladder. There was nothing there.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. It's like, oh my God, what did I do? What do we do in this corporate world, climbing the corporate ladder there? Okay. And so basically I climbed all the way back down and I went down into the real estate field. Okay. And my wife and I went to a real estate 3-day conference. Okay. And then I think they tried to sell us a lot of stuff at it, but that's okay. We learned a lot and stuff. And so then I became what's called a rehabber. And so basically I was rehabbing 5 to 10 houses a year. And one of my claims to fame was that all my renovated houses, that I fixed up and put on the MLS here in St. Louis, Missouri, 265,000 and less, they all sold in 7 days or less, Atlas price or higher for 16 years now. Now that may sound cool, but basically I'm making $50,000 to $150,000 gross profit on those houses. And so it's easy to sell them quickly. So how do I do that? Well, that basically was through what's called a short sale method of buying houses. These are not on the MLS, not with the real estate agent, but rather we would work with a family, stop the foreclosure date, and then negotiate directly with the bank. Then I became a hard money lender. So I've got over $3.5 million in cash in my IRAs, retirement account, 401ks that I lend out. So I became a hard money lender, but kind of unique and special. My heart's to help new people get started. I give them the money to buy, the money to fix, the money for the points, and the money for the monthly interest payments. They literally need $0, need no money at all to start rehabbing. So I want people to be able to get into that field, build a business, and be able to rehab houses. Then about 5 years ago, people that know me said, "Hey, Dave, you need to teach other people how to do short sales."
Yeah.
Okay. And so for 5 years now, Andrew, I've been teaching people all across the country how to do short sales. It's a federal process. It's the same in every state, the short sale process with the bank. And so that's a quick story of how I got to where I am at today.
That's so cool. And just because we have newbies and novice and intermediate and experts and advanced people listening to this show, for the former, can you just explain at a high level what short sale is, define that so they know what we're talking about here?
Yeah. So if you ask 10 real estate investors, what is the one sentence definition of a short sale? Most everybody would say, well, it's when you cannot sell the house for more than what the loan is. In other words, they have a loan on the house, they're not making any payments, the bank's going to foreclose and take it, and they can't sell it because then it won't pay off the loan. So that's the real simple definition. You can't sell the house and pay off your loan. But actually, you know what? That's dead wrong, Andrew. See, that's what a lot of people think it is. But here's the real definition. It's when you miss one house payment. See, I cannot do a short sale unless they have missed a payment. So therefore, for me, if they miss one, it now becomes a short sale. Okay, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. We could talk about data and statistics if you want, but there's a lot of studies to back that up. But that's the definition is you can't really pay off your loans. And it's not just the first mortgage either. It's all loans. That's what people misunderstand. You can have a mortgage for $10, owed on the loan, and it's still a short sale. What? How can that be? Well, if they have a $150,000 federal tax lien, well, they can't sell the house.
Right.
Okay, because they have to pay everything off. But anyway, that's the kind of the quick generic definition of a short sale.
No, super. Thanks for explaining that. Because I too am kind of like, I knew about short sales. We did a handful in our careers, but we kind of shied away from it. But you did the exact opposite, David. So I'm just curious, like when you first got, so you left your corporate engineering job, climbed back down the corporate ladder, so to like your words, got into real estate. Did you set out to do short sales as like your niche and your specialty, or like how did that come about? Where did the short sale kind of like expertise for you begin?
Well, I think there's two reasons. One, somebody said to me, the riches are in the niches. And I
Yeah.
thought, well, it sounds cool. It rhymes and it even sounds cool. But then in 2009, what was going on? It was a tidal wave of foreclosures. It was just horrendous what was happening to families back in 2008, 9, and 10 with the foreclosure wave and stuff. And so it was just a natural thing for my wife and I to say, okay, well, what are we going to do in real estate? We went to the 3-day class. What's our method of buying houses? And we looked all around at families, falling apart, the banks just violating all kinds of rules and not following rules, and thought, how can we help people out and still make money? So yeah, for us, it was really specific, a real blessing actually, that it's not a blessing that there was a tidal wave of foreclosures, but a blessing that we came in at that time and we saw it so prevalent. And so we went into it because of the need in the industry.
Yeah. David, I love that about you because in our connection call, our pre-episode call that we chatted about, there's a value add that you're bringing to families. Just like kind of I explained how we do it in my probate coaching program, where like if you don't really think you're bringing a short sale or a probate family value as a real estate professional, then you probably shouldn't be in those niches, right? But you're seeing it as a win-win, not taking advantage, not trying to get it for any massive discount like in that regard, right? But you're helping these families in a time where they need it the most. And you're doing that by the guidance that you're giving them, becoming a specialist in this niche.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Now, I will correct you on this. Actually, I am making a massive profit, okay?
No,
Uh,
I just meant you didn't. That's not your primary goal here.
right,
Like
no,
you're
exactly.
trying to help.
Right, but the reason that that is even completely acceptable for all the parties is that there's actually a three-way win on this. It's not just with the family. So first of all, in a short sale, the family is going to get paid some money from the bank, and it's irrelevant to what the price is that you pay for the house.
Okay.
Okay. So they don't care what you buy the house for. And so that is where you have the opportunity for the massive profits. Now let's look at the third party involved in that. Let's look at the bank. Okay. Well, the bank is like, okay, wait a minute. We are distressed, just like a distressed homeowner. People don't understand that banks can be just as distressed. And so they will be either shut down because they have too many non-performing loans,
Hmm.
or basically, this is the way the fiat currency works, is that, the bank, so you give the bank $1, okay, and they can go out and lend $15. Okay, it's called fiat. It's the banking system. It's fiat currencies. It's what we live in. But it works in reverse, Andrew. So if a homeowner is not making their payment, then the bank has to reverse that. If they have $100,000 loan, the bank's got to take $1.5 million off their books. They can't lend it for student loans, car loans, or anything else. And so they would much rather take $50,000, whatever, so they
Yeah.
can turn around and lend out, say 500, 750,000 in the open market. It's not their money. So they don't care about the massive loss either. And so now you got the triple win. The
Yeah.
homeowner's happy, you're happy, and the banks are happy.
Awesome. Yeah. I did not know that reverse formula. So you learn something new every day, man. So, all right, David. So going back to you. You started doing short sales with your wife. You started having great success. That is an incredible track record of 16 plus years of, selling for at or above market in less than 7 days. And then you subtly mentioned you started helping people do this across the country, which is an amazing feat in and of itself. Let's talk about that. If I am interested in short sales, I can either go out and figure it out on my own, probably make a massive amount of mistakes, take years to perfect, or I could go to somebody like you that's been doing it for close to 2 decades and learn in an expedited manner. So what does that look like? What am I learning from you? What am I getting from you? And then we'll talk about how people can reach out to you, a little bit later on here.
Yeah, well, what happened was when I can teach someone how to do a short sale just as good as me, and they're over here in a vertical doing that with the bank, I'm over here doing it vertical with my bank. And so it's not like there's a competition. I can teach everybody to be really good at it, and it doesn't affect me over here or you over there. And so
Yes.
when I kind of realized that, and when people said, look, nobody's doing what you're doing, nobody, short sale coaches in the past from 2009 knew me personally, like, David, we can't even do what you're doing. You gotta share that with other people. And so basically I started teaching a monthly 2-hour free workshop on an introduction to short sales. So every single month I teach this for free to investors, to understand just, okay, more about what a short. It's great that it's when you miss one house payment, but there's a lot more to exactly what that looks like. And so I do every single month a 2-hour free workshop, and then a couple times a year I do a free 3-day masterclass even on top of it and everything. And so then from there I then developed basically an online education portal that teaches you how to do the steps. Okay, so the first one is an introduction, and then through that free 3-day masterclass is, okay, now what are the actual steps? Okay, and then for those that are now serious and say, hey, you know what, I do want to help families out. I do want to pay a lot of money in taxes, but with huge profits. And so how do I actually do that step by
Yeah.
step? And so I came out with a whole program to help people all across the country to be successful.
Awesome. So, David, if someone's interested in learning more about you and what you do in that program, where can they reach you? How do they learn more? And if you're cool with sharing, like, how much does a program like this cost and what the investment is and how long are you in the program for?
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, so, you can always go to my website, thedavidrandolph.com, David Randolph, RANDOLPH.com. Now, why is it the David Randolph? Well, it's because somebody else took davidrandolph.com.
Mm,
And so I was, very heartbroken and upset about it. And then somebody said, but wait a minute, wait, aren't you the David? Yeah, like GoDaddy, give me the David
yeah. Maybe
Randolph.
that's even better than davidrandolph.com.
Exactly, because it's the data, right? Anyway, they can go there and get a lot of information, or they
Okay.
can just text the word intro, INTRO, for introduction, intro to 636-685-2990, and that'll send you a Zoom link for that free monthly, to our workshop. For all your people listening here, for them, it's absolutely free. As because of your service to the community, they
Awesome.
won't have to pay anything to take that free workshop.
Very cool. Awesome. And we will include all of your handles and websites and ways to contact you, David, in the description of this episode. So if you're watching this on YouTube, click down below if you want to reach out to David. David, thank you so much for being on the show, man. I truly do believe the riches are in the niches. If you become a specialist in short sales or probate or whatever it is, right? And go hardcore into it, you're going to stand out and be the top 1% in whatever niche you really go into if you take the time and the effort to learn it. So I'll leave it at that, David. Thank you again for your time, and stick around for a couple of minutes. I just need some go over some stuff with you, but thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, Andrew, thank you for everything you do with your podcast.
Yes, sir. All right, man. Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
All right.